Welcome back to the KOA Morning News on Fox 14. This morning we are fortunate enough to be joined by Dr. Robert McNabb, the head of the COVID unit at Freeman Health, and we are having a conversation about the holidays and Thanksgiving and how people should be navigating this, because I don't think people are necessarily, we try to kind of go through this dichotomous key of, how many people in our family have tested it, how many people have been exposed, how safe have we been, how safe is it to be together. I mean, every one of these calculations, the right side of the equal sign always ends up seeming to be that it is better safe than sorry, right? And I guess how do you find a way to tell people, hey, I know that there is a very strong chance that you're the exception to the rule, but why risk it, right?
Sure. I think that the best way to sum up my thoughts on this are, that old trope about, once you've lost a loved one, we say, well, I'd give away 25 years to get just one more time with grandma, right? Mm-hmm. Well, would you give away one Thanksgiving or one Christmas to have 25 holidays in the future with your loved ones? Because if you're wrong, if you do have that infection, if you do spread it to your loved ones, you can't take it back. There can be a significant price to pay for that. The very first patient that I ever took care of, with COVID, came from a family reunion that was very important to his family. His wife got it, he got it, he ended up hospitalized for months. He lost 2 family members at the cost of a family reunion. And I think that if they could go back and say, was it worth it? Was it worth it to have that family reunion? Or should we just put it on hiatus for the year? I hear there's a virus. I bet you $1, I bet you a lot of dollars, that they would say it wasn't worth it. I would trade that for 25 more family reunions.
When people ask you about flying versus driving places, how do you respond to that? Is there a rule to this? Is there a calculation people can make, or is it better to just not?
So when you look at the studies on masks on airplanes, the masks do seem to reduce the transmission rate by about 70%, right? So that sounds pretty good. It still means that there's a 30% chance, right? And even though they do circulate that air numerous times during that flight, and they are filtering it, it's still a possibility. And so, it's not the plane that's the problem, it's the close contact with people that you can't assess their risk.
Right.
And I think that that's the ultimate issue there.
Can the level of exposure impact the severity of the COVID-19? I know there have been studies about this, but I'm curious to know if there's really proof that, the number of droplets that you're exposed to, or however it's done, can actually impact your experience.
Yeah, so that is a fantastic question, and we definitely want to get to all of that.
Yeah.
But there is a study that came out on October 5th looking at people that got infected with the mask on, and what they found was that they had less disease process. They had a much milder course. And we speculate that because the mask keeps some virus from getting into your respiratory system, it decreases the amount of inflammatory response.
Wow.
So to think of it like this, would you rather have a small dose of poison or a large dose of poison?
Right. So they're really, okay. Well, we're going to continue. Yeah, I want to continue that conversation with you about that, because it sounds like that's pretty recent stuff. So we'll continue this conversation on Facebook, but we'll toss it back to the studio and continue this conversation on the KOA Morning News on Fox 14.